What's up, everybody? I'm Marcus Flowers. Welcome to All With All Due Respect. Ryan's out this week. I'd like to welcome our new co-host, longtime friend of the show, Madeline Somerville.
Hey,
Madeline, how are you doing
everybody.
today? How are you today, Madeline?
I'm doing great, Marcus. Thank you so much for having me. You doing well?
Uh, it's one of those weeks, a crazy
Phillies
week,
fan.
which like every week here for the last, I don't know, 10 years, I guess. It's been a crazy week. So
Mercury, if you do astrology, Mercury was in retrograde for a hot minute. And my brother doesn't believe in it. So he always says Mercury's in Gatorade.
I like that. I like that better.
Yeah.
Mercury is in Gatorade. This is the upside down world.
Yeah.
Anyway, everybody, this is a show where we cut through all the noise, call out the nonsense and actually talk about what's going on here in our world today. And this isn't the version that you get in the press releases, and it's definitely not the version you're going to get from people who think leadership is all about yelling. Every week we bring you real conversations with real fighters who are out there doing the work, whether it's candidates, folks who are trying to get things done, not just talk about it. And with that, we're going to talk about pop culture. We're going to talk about the war. We're going to talk about politics, definitely. So whether you're just here to stay informed or hear something that you agree with about what's been going on the last week or so, this is a show for you. And with that said, let's get into it. Today, we're bringing on a longtime friend of mine, someone who's been in politics for a little while. He's a Army veteran, retired major, good friend of mine. Did some work out in West Virginia, was in the West Virginia State Senate for a while, and now he's running for Congress in North Carolina, which is where he moved back to because he's a Fort Bragg guy. Let's welcome to the show retired Army Major Richard Ojeda.
Hey.
What's going on? What's going on? I want to say something here. Behind you, Marcus,
Yeah.
The 210
Tombstone?
Alpha. No. To the other side of it.
Oh.
Thing. I actually have mine, Echo 31st, 132nd Engineer Battalion, Fort Wood, Missouri.
Hey.
I have mine on my wall too, man.
You got to take it back to the first days, man. It's just something,
Yeah, man.
I remember A Company, and it was, man, those guys were hard.
Yeah. We're talking about, a shark attack that is brutal.
Those guys were hardcore back
in
the
man.
90s,
I literally thought that I was going to get beat to death during that first initial day. Brutal.
It wasn't easy. I thought I was going to get my butt kicked too. So I just shut up and moved as quickly as I possibly could.
Yeah. Well, when they told us to go into the barracks, I took off running and bumped into the senior drill and knocked his hat off.
No, you did not.
I kept on running, and all of a sudden I heard you, and I looked back, and he was talking. Oh my gosh, they come from all over. It was
everywhere.
It was
I could see them descending on you like a swarm
story for a movie.
Rabid dogs.
It was brutal. It was brutal. I mean, I was like scared to death.
So you got a nice little introduction to the Army, huh?
Yeah, man. You did too.
I did.
Fort Leonard Wood's no joke. Fort Leonard Wood. I mean, it's brutal summers. It is
hot.
Brutal winters. I mean, it's tough.
People talk about how bad it is at Fort Benning in the summer. Fort Wood is it's comparable.
Yes, it
definitely.
is.
Maybe not as much humidity, but pretty close.
Hot, man. Hot. Yep.
Yeah. But again, let's get right into it, man. You've lived a full life, between your military and politics. I want you to tell the people a little bit about you, how you got into politics, and just give us a little background. Tell us who Richard Ojeda is.
Okay, so like when I graduated from high school, I had three decisions. I could dig coal, I could sell dope, or I could join the Army. Right. Half of my family were coal miners, and they told every one of us, do not follow us into this mine. And unfortunately, I had some other people in my family that went the other route and went and got into a lot of trouble. So to me, it was the military, and I loved serving in the military. I was enlisted. I was an NCO, and then all of a sudden, my company commander came to me one day and said, "Hey, I put you in for a green to gold scholarship because we think you'd be a good lieutenant." and it got approved. And the next thing you know, I'm out of the Army and in college.
Yeah.
And of course, I got my commission. Went back. I spent 2 of my 4 years enlisted at Fort Bragg, and luckily, when I got my commission, I ended up going back to Fort Bragg. So I've spent a lot of time at Fort Bragg. But when I made the decision to retire, honestly, I was politically ignorant. I was. I mean, you never really.
We're an apolitical force.
Yeah. I mean, politics don't really bother me.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's all about who can give us the beans and the bullets to help us to fight and win this nation's wars. So, when I made the decision to retire, I went back to where I grew up. And when I got there, I realized that spending so much time in the military, you see what real leadership looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I retire and I go back to where I grew up, and I'm like, wow, you got politicians that show up right before the election, write 3 checks to 3 crooks, and then they disappear and you don't see them again. And I was like, wow, this is, leadership that doesn't participate. And that's when I got into it. But, when I come back here to North Carolina, because for 20 straight years, I paid taxes in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
We lived off of Hawthorne. We owned a house off of Littlejohn Court. We paid taxes. My family was raised in Fort Bragg and in the Fayetteville area.
Mm-hmm.
But we decided after we spent some years in West Virginia, where I was a legislator, the teacher strike, I made West Virginia the 29th state for medical cannabis, but we missed North Carolina, because once again, when you come from a place that has nothing, I tell people all the time, I tell them a joke, I say, yeah, my Dairy Queen was spelled with a K. When I grew up, we didn't have a lot of stuff. We had a burger chef. I remember this stuff. So when you find yourself in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and you have access to everything, every kind of store, every type of restaurant. I mean, you have anything and everything at your fingertips.
You've arrived. It's Vegas.
Right. That's right. So it's great. So we missed that. So we decided to move back. And we ended up moving back. We lucked out. We found 20 acres with a 3-acre pond. And my wife, her happy place is the pond. My wife loves to fish, and I'm talking about when we were building our house.
I'm assuming you got that thing stocked, right?
It is stocked. But
Nice.
when we built our house, we lived in campers, and I can remember one day walking into the camper, and my wife looked like a little child playing with Hot Wheels cars. She was sitting in the floor, and she had all these lures all around her. She was picking. I'm gonna fish with this one first. My wife studies this stuff, and we don't eat the fish. My wife says she has an agreement with the fish. They let her catch them, and she always puts them back. So,
what's your name?
Huh?
What's your wife's name?
Her name is Kelly.
Kelly. Okay, well, we love Kelly. That's so sweet. Oh my God.
Let me tell you something. I love Kelly too, because I'm going to tell you, I have a very strong, intelligent wife who doesn't watch television. She reads and she researches everything to include like seeds and things like that and how to do certain plants. My wife is really, really super intelligent. And I just absolutely, she's my rock. She's always been my rock. And she will always be my rock.
My kids would love your wife just based on the fishing stuff alone. Anytime we, pack up and whether we're going to the beach or we're doing an RV trip out west, it's always about getting the different rods and reels and the tackle boxes out and going through them. So I get it, brother.
When I was going through the captain's career course on Fort Linwood, Missouri, when I would be done at the end of the day, I would go to the house that we were living on base. And she was gone. The kids were gone. I always knew. Get in the car and drive down Range Road. And I would always find my 2 kids in a little pen that she built for them. And she out there in the river fishing. That's how it was. That's how it is. She loves it.
I remember Range Road.
Yeah.
Now, this is what I'm talking about, though. Like running as a Democrat, the story you just told was super American. Right. All of that was a very American, like, I love America. I love the land. I love what this country's all about. Family. the like nature. I'm just saying, like, we get a bad rap of not being patriotic and not being American enough. And everything you just said from the moment we started the show was American to a T.
Well, and here's the thing too, I'm a lifelong Democrat. I've been a Democrat since I was 18. And there are people that are trying to say, oh, no, this guy's a Republican. Look, when I was in West Virginia, if I would have ran as a Republican, I would probably be the governor by now. Right. But I'm a Democrat. And I'm going to stay a Democrat, and I've always been a Democrat. Now, I've thrown votes. I voted for John McCain because why? Once again, politically ignorant. But here's a guy that's been 5 years in a POW camp, and he's a warrior. So, we automatically will always kind of move towards people like that. But other than that, everybody.
That's interesting that you say that, because I remember when I was 18, joining the military, and I was in the reserves and doing college at the same time. I didn't know whether or not I was a Democrat or not. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't even care about politics. I cared about, let me do as much school as I can. I want to be a warrior. I already knew that from, I don't know, I was probably 7 years old when I decided I wanted to go into the military. Mm-hmm. And I ended up doing it. So, but that's all I wanted to do. Be in the military, go travel, go see the world, have some fun.
Yeah, I absolutely, like, when I got into the military, I just did what I was told. And by doing what I'm told and trying to make sure that I do everything, not just right, but do it the best that I can.
Exactly.
I mean, my goodness gracious, I was like, I love the military. I mean, yeah, they scream and yell at you and stuff like that. But if you work hard and you bust your butt with PT and you have a good PT score, and, back then my first 2 years was in Germany, so starch in your uniform and stuff. I mean, they treated you different, and I loved it. And I loved the day I left Fort Bragg to go to college. I had tears in my eyes because I was worried, what if I don't succeed in college and then I can't make it back here to Fort Bragg? Because, I mean, to me, when I got to Fort Bragg, everything, I mean, it was like I got ripped apart by the sergeant major because I had just got there from Germany. I wasn't airborne, and me and my NCO from Germany, we got there together. We went into the sergeant major's office, and the sergeant major screaming, going, "You're going to go to airborne school, you're going to go to air assault school, and you're going to go to sapper leader course." And me and Sean's looking at each other like, that's all we've ever wanted to hear.
Where'd you spend that first few years in Germany?
In Hanau.
In Hanau. So yeah, it's a different culture at Bragg than it is in Hanau, and I spent a lot of time in Hanau. I mean, you're up around Frankfurt,
Yeah, happy Hanau, man.
It's good. You can travel anywhere you want to in Europe. I was further down south by Munich.
Nice.
But just getting into that 82nd culture, it's just a completely different world for you. So I bet that was a bit of a culture shock, even having been in the military.
Well, it was, but it was. I thought it was the greatest thing in the world because I loved it. I mean, I absolutely loved everything about Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And to this day, I still love everything about Fort Bragg. And like right now, where we have troops that have now been basically said, you're going to deploy.
You got the 82nd deploying right now.
That's right. And I have to say, I know what's going on. I know what people are feeling right now. I know that people are scared. I know that families are like, I've got a person that's actually kin to me in a distant kin. He's actually my niece's husband's brother. But once again, he was getting ready to go to Ranger School, and they said, "Stop! You're deploying." So, and everybody's worried, But I mean, this is where we are, and I think it's, I just worry that we're going. First off, how dare you push troops towards combat while you're trying to gut the VA? Unacceptable.
That's one of those things, Richard. You've heard me talk about this before when I talk about the true cost of war, and this is coming from someone who did logistics in the military. Yeah, I was the guy who, I counted the beans and the bullets, but I also procured the beans and the bullets and everything else for our war fighters, and I was right there alongside with them when they went to war.
Yeah.
And I tell people about the true cost of war. It's not just the beans, the bullets, the tanks, the aircrafts, the ships. That's not the true cost of war. The true cost of war is our brothers and sisters in arms that come back home with scars, both seen and unseen.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
that the American taxpayer is on the hook to pay for, because we swore an oath, but in return for that oath, the American government swore to take care of us
of our
after
healthcare.
that.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
you can't renege on that deal.
Well, and that's the thing.
Say, no, we're not going to take care of you, even though we sent you to war. Some of us paid the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah.
But others are paying costs far and beyond.
Yeah.
You know,
there's 13 dog tags right there.
Yeah.
There's 13 dog tags right there. You know, and it bothers me because you got people like Lindsey Graham that literally said that we're going to go to Iran and we're going to make so much money.
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, the people that you send over there aren't going to be making a lot of money. You know, and once again, we were over in Iraq and Afghanistan getting paid pennies on the dollar, while Blackwater was daggone paying people $300,000 tax free. We were doing this. You know, we were going outside the wire every day. But like Lindsey Graham recently said, because we're talking about, I think it's pronounced Karg Island.
Mm-hmm.
Karg Island.
Lindsey Graham had the nerve to say, well, we took Iwo Jima. We lost 7,000 Marines on Iwo Jima. How dare this worm say something like that?
Yeah, and just to be so flippant about it.
Y'all are the people to say that, right? Because other folks don't have the credibility to say that, but y'all can say that. You can say, how dare you?
Yeah.
Because that's the truth, is that the American moms and dads are sending their children to go die for this war. And they already said, we don't want to do this. And now these folks, I feel so bad because they made a commitment to like this awful commander in chief. And now they're feeling like they have to defend something that's going to hurt them and their families.
Well, you know, what also bothers me is that Lindsey Graham actually, during Operation Iraqi Freedom, he went to Iraq for like a month. Of course, you know, he was as a JAG officer.
I met Lindsey Graham the first time in Iraq, in Baghdad, at the old embassy there.
But you know what? It wasn't like he was there doing a job.
No, he wasn't doing fuck all. I'm sorry. He wasn't doing a damn thing.
They treated him like the U.S. senator that he is. But they made sure that on his way home, they hit him with the Bronze Star.
Mm-hmm,
and that's a slap in the face. That's a slap in the face to everybody else that was outside the wire every other damn day doing their jobs that earned the Bronze Star.
Of course.
You know, I can't stand people that want to beat the drums of war when their children are not going to be the ones that are going to be in this fight. And oh, by the way, you know, if their children are, they'll be like, oh, my child's going to be a military lawyer. No. If you want to vote to commit American sons and daughters to war, you should be willing to send your fighting age kids to war as well. And I ain't talking about no JAG officer. I'm talking about infantry or combat engineers. That's two jobs that you will absolutely guarantee see action.
Because they're people. They're still people. My child, your child, anybody's child. They're still human beings. And one human being is not worth more than another just because of what family they're born into. That's what it says in our Constitution, period. But we have people in office right now who disagree with that. And just to bring up Blackwater, so little connections, right? I've studied a lot about all the connections of all the people because I am not a conspiracy theorist, but I do think there's a lot of nefarious stuff going on behind the scenes. When you bring up Blackwater, you know who the head of Blackwater is? It's Eric Prince. And his sister is Betsy DeVos.
Yep.
And Betsy DeVos was the one who wanted to teach religion in schools. She's the one that wanted to stop funding public schools so that we could start having religious schools exclusively. So
we actually held guns against Blackwater because we would not let anybody pass us when we was out doing operations.
Oh, wow.
And we would not let Blackwater, because Blackwater had a reputation. They would sometimes go through villages and just open fire. And then all of a sudden, 20 minutes later, here comes some supply convoy moving from south to north. And now
they get tagged.
They drive into a hornet's nest.
They get tagged
because of these jackaloons. Yeah, man, unacceptable.
I mean, and this is one of those touchy subjects for me because I did know a lot of those Blackwater guys because they stayed in the sea huts literally right next to me. So I'd sit there and talk with them, but I can tell you now, and I'm not going to say anyone's name. I like these guys. Some of them were former operators, pipe hitters, but others were like rangers. I think you had to have a ranger tab at least to be one of the guys in Blackwater. There were a bunch of cowboys there back in 2004, 2005, 2006. They started up a lot of shit.
I mean, look at what
some of that shit almost got me killed.
One of them murdered an Iraqi gate guard, and then they snuck him out of the country before he could be held accountable for killing an Iraqi gate guard.
That was the playbook. Get him out of the country before the Iraqi
so they wouldn't be held accountable. Yeah, that's garbage.
I saw that happen personally 2 or 3 times.
Yep. I often get frustrated because as like the Democrat strategist that they bring on to different TV shows, they'll say things like, you know, who do you want to win next? Who do you think should win next? And I was like, I think that there should be a person who rises from amongst the ranks of people in your community that seems to give voice to what everyone is feeling and puts words to it. And then that person comes and speaks, and that's you. Like, that's what I'm hearing right now. Because when you said unacceptable, I believe that. Like, I believe that you believe that. Like, because there are too many people who are involved in this for the purposes of power and for the purposes of money and prestige. And when somebody says unacceptable, the way that you just did with the backstory that you just gave, it lets everyone know that you're doing this because if some people just, you have to. It's like, I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. Like, this is just, some people call it a calling. Some people say it's from God. Some people, like, whatever it is. Some people just, I can't do anything else. This is what I have to do. I have to help in this way.
Well, Fort Bragg, North Carolina is the tip of the spear. And, you know, and I'm going to tell you, there's plenty of soldiers that are like, let's go, because we train nonstop for this. But once again, this doesn't end. It ends with troops coming home that will rely on the Veterans Administration for the rest of their life. It ends with flag-draped coffins coming back this way. And when you've got people like Lindsey Graham that are literally saying, we're going to make all kinds of money. The reason why he says that is because Lindsey Graham has stock in the military-industrial complex. Of course. He's got stock in Raytheon, Brown and Root, Halliburton, Boeing, Lockheed Martin. He has stock in that. And that's why he's like, yeah. But you know what? Let's see Lindsey Graham go knock on a door, which I have had to do, and tell an 8-month pregnant woman that I am sorry, but your husband is not going to be here to witness the birth of your first child, his son, because he was just killed in the Al-Anbar province with an improvised explosive device. Lindsey Graham has never had to do that. He's never had to look into somebody's eyes and rip their heart out. And I've done that. And then I left and drove around the corner, parked the car, and I cried for a solid hour. Doesn't mean that I'm weak, but let me tell you something. When you rip a person's heart out, when you look at a mother or a father and tell them that their most prized possession is not going to come home because they were killed in combat, and to think about this, this should have never happened. They did not look at intelligent briefings. They didn't do it. They did. Donald Trump's already said that Jared, Steve, and Pete are the ones that told him that they're getting ready to strike. But 6 months ago, we bombed them out of, to the Stone Age. They'll never be able to do it again. And now all of a sudden, this is the Epstein fury.
That's right.
That's what this is. It's not urgent fury. It's Epstein fury.
That's right.
That's what this is. And they're willing to send your sons and daughters into harm's way to keep people's eyes off of the fact that we have a president that has absolutely preyed on children.
It's crazy how when you look at how they're twisting themselves into pretzels to go back and justify this thing, which is like you said, oh yeah, we destroyed their nuclear capability, but now we're going to war, so they can't create.
Right. And you're mad because they shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Or what else are they going to do?
Yeah.
You know,
they had no strategy.
Nope.
Every day it becomes more apparent that they had no real exit strategy.
There was no communication with our allies, and now they're like, where's our allies at? Well, for the past 10 years, Donald Trump has done nothing but throw stones at our allies. So why would they want to join us to go into a kill box?
Exactly.
In the Strait of Hormuz.
Exactly what I said. The Strait of Hormuz is. It's a kill box.
It's a kill box.
That's all it is. And going into Iran is another kill box.
Yep, absolutely.
So
I think that what we've identified here is what people are actually invested in. right? What you just said was that you were invested in the families of the people who are sending their husbands, sons, fathers, sisters, wives to the military. You're invested in not having to go back and look at them in the eye and tell them that, and instead coming home on the plane with them, rejoicing, right? Or instead staying here in training, or instead taking care of the homeland, right? Your investment is different than their investment. Yeah. And that's a good way, I think, to look at it sometimes, because one of the investments means money.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I'm in this fight. I came back here and I looked at the guy that was my representative, and I realized that he doesn't show up. He doesn't put boots on the ground.
Right.
But he supports, all he does is forward Donald Trump stuff. But he supported the big, horrible bill. And that targets 86,000 VA jobs. And that's after the over 7,000 VA jobs that Doge got rid of. And understand that what that means is longer wait lines. What that means is they may have to shut down your local PAC, which is like, instead of going to the VA hospital, which sometimes can be crowded and it's going to get worse and worse, we have a small little facility about 20 minutes from my house that I can go to and get my blood drawn and stuff like that. But when they have to shut that down, when we no longer can get care in the community, when we no longer can get dental care, that's what happens when you start cutting this. And once again, there's nothing in the world worse than sending American sons and daughters into harm's way while you're trying to gut the VA. That is, it's absolutely cruelty is what that is, because all of these people that go there are going to end up in the Veterans Administration. For those that make it home, they're going to rely on the Veterans Administration. And to do anything, and my opponent calls himself, I'm the veterans representative. Never served in the military. He's never picked up a rifle and manned a post. He says that because Fort Bragg is in his district. Right. Let me tell you something. Fort Bragg will be in my district. The only difference is that I spent 16 years on Fort Bragg. So I know exactly what the people on Fort Bragg are going through right now, because me and my family have went through that multiple times.
Yeah, you lived it.
Whew, absolutely.
Like Shelton's song.
And I'm going to tell you another thing.
You definitely lived it.
Yes, I did. And I'll tell you another thing too. Combat deployments aren't always the worst. My deployment to Haiti, we were the ones that we got the call for the earthquake in Haiti, and we were the first ones on the ground. And I'm going to tell you, I can justify death in a combat zone. It's them or us, but you can't justify 400,000 deaths. I mean, entire schools, pancakes, killing everybody inside. Yeah. You can't justify that. I mean, it broke me for a long time. I had a lot of struggles until I got situated with the Veterans Administration that really, really got me on the right track.
You know what's really interesting about the group of people that might be listening to this, that are voters too, is that Gen Z actually understands emotional health. Like, they actually understand emotional intelligence, and they might not feel it, but they know that it takes a tremendous amount of resilience to be able to come back after that, right? Like, to have experienced something so traumatic and to not, be a junkie, right? Or to not have your whole life blow up because nothing makes sense anymore is damn near impossible. And so if you have been able to say, you know what, I've experienced that, that's given me a tremendous amount of capacity for understanding what's good and what's not good. How's that dude who's running against you gonna, like, how's he look standing next to you? Right?
Well, I doubt very seriously. I doubt very seriously that he will stand next to me. He doesn't put boots on the ground. He doesn't return phone calls. And I've lived in this state probably longer than he has. But like I said, I'm here. I'm in this fight, and I think I got a really good shot of flipping the seat from red to blue.
I think you do too.
I think it's time.
Thrilled to hear somebody who loves to go fish. So my husband is a Southern Democrat too. Like, Nathan Deal was the governor here in Georgia for a long time, and the joke was that he was a Republican, right? Because all he did was like help foster kids, and like he was very Democrat leaning and focused. But the thing here is that you would never expect somebody who knew how to drive a tractor at age 4 to vote Democrat, right? It's just, it's not a thing. And so it's nice for me to see somebody whose like very existence screams America to be like, no, I can't stand what Donald Trump's doing. I can't stand the decisions that he's making. I don't think it's good for veterans. I don't think it's good for people like me. You know,
well, I'm going to tell you that, you know, I feel we are recognized as being a campaign that is going nonstop. I mean, when I go to places, and I'm going to tell you, unaffiliated voters are crucial. And I believe I'm going to get them. Let me tell you something. We knocked on doors one day and we knocked on just unaffiliated. We knocked on 35 doors.
Love that. 30
of them opened. And out of those 30, 100% said, we're back in your race. You know, let me tell you. Well, also, if you look in this last race, there's a guy by the name of Phil Berger, who was the Senate president, and he is a horrible human being. You know, North Carolina is the only state that still hasn't passed the daggone budget. But the unaffiliated decided to vote on the Republican ticket, and they voted against him. He lost. This was the most powerful politician right now in North Carolina, and he lost. And I'm going to tell you another thing, too. We believe that we're going to benefit because Roy Cooper, who has been the governor of North Carolina twice, he is the most loved politician. He's never lost a race. Yeah. And they love him. People are going to go and they're going to vote for him. They're also going to vote for Justice Anita Earls because we now know how important our courts are. And I'm going to be right beneath Justice Anita Earls. And I believe that the people are going to support me. I have been to places where people come up to me and said, I want you to know, Republicans are talking good about you. And the reason for that is because, once again, I'm showing up. I'm willing to sit down and meet with anybody. Yep. Look, I don't care what your party is. If you got a good idea, I'm willing to put legislation behind a good idea. And that's what I'm going to do.
And see, that's one of the things. And I love that you said that, Richard, because it's guys like me, you, Brigadier General Sean Harris.
Yeah.
We don't look like what the narrative of the liberal progressive Democrat looks like. We don't look like that narrative. So it's hard for them to sell it on us. You know, one of the things like you just talked about, when I was out knocking doors, we had the vote builder thing, and it said, oh, good, knock on these doors. These people are Democrats, and they voted, and I'd knock on everybody.
They're already voting for you. They're already
going to get those votes.
Yeah,
but you're going to need those independents. Yes, you're going to need some Republicans in districts like the one I live in. You know,
we knocked on
right now. I'm sure you're doing it too. So you're on the right. You're on the right path.
Trump is down 27 points. With independence. And
let me tell you this. Let me
say this before you say that, though.
Okay.
Any district that's within 12, 15 points right now, guess what?
Yeah, it's in play. It's in play. I'm going to tell you, 6 months ago, every time I got in my vehicle and drove to the gym, I saw a big Ford F-1250 with those big old Trump flags on the back and Trump stickers. Let me tell you something. I have not seen one of those flags literally in the last 4 months. And as far as Trump stickers, I've saw one. There used to be everywhere because people, they may not be out here saying, Trump, but make no mistake about it. They know that it's not popular anymore.
They're waking up to it right now. They're like, okay, this gas is not any cheaper. This electricity is not any cheaper. These groceries aren't any cheaper. And guess what? It's getting worse.
Yeah,
and now we're at war.
A man who ran on affordability and then gets in there, doesn't do anything, and then calls affordability a Democratic hoax.
It's a Democratic hoax.
It's so stupid. I worked as a speechwriter in the Senate Democratic Caucus in Georgia here, just, in the state Senate. And my goal, which was fought back. So people fought me really hard on it because at the time, it was a couple of years ago and people were not as interested in doing something different. And it was very difficult because my goal was to get a headline. Here's why. Because the only way that we were going to get the majority in the Senate in order for us to be able to pass legislation that we wanted to and to get healthcare was if we flipped seats. And the only way that we were going to be able to do that was if the constituents of the Republican senators knew what the hell they were doing when they were there, because the constituents did not know that they were voting against unions, that they were voting against elderly people, and sometimes they were for, but they didn't know that. And so my goal was get a headline so that Mr. and Mrs. Jones, who live in this Republican's district, can see that headline that are good people and call their senator and go, what the hell? We didn't know you were doing this.
Let me tell you what I've got that I think is very beneficial, is that my opponent is the chair of the NRCC. So that's like the DCCC for the Republican Party.
Okay.
His job is to raise money. Well, let me tell you something. Looking at the polling and looking at recent races that are taking places, I mean, they just now flipped a red seat blue right there in Mar-a-Lago. So,
yes.
you know, these things are happening. And I'm going to tell you, right now, my opponent, as the chair of the NRCC, he's going to want to take whatever he thinks he needs to be able to win his reelection. But make no mistake about it, there are Republicans all across this country that are saying, I need more money, because right now we're running in an area that is no longer. I mean, look, Texas could become purple and maybe even blue. Over 200,000 more Democrats voted than Republicans. And this is stuff that's happening. We flipped a seat in Florida.
Yep.
I mean, it's coming. And that's the thing, is that either you help them try to keep their seats and probably lose yours, or you focus on just holding your seat while you let all of those others go without. And look, I'm a Democrat. I'm a real Democrat. I want to win this race. But if I lose this race because they spend every penny to make sure I don't get beat, but everybody else across the country that's running on the Democratic ticket wins, make no mistake about it, I'll get over it.
It's fine. That happens. But I do want to say to you, Richard, people in leadership positions inside a party, they lose their elections all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It happened in 2022 to the guy who was the head of the DCCC. He lost his seat after that race. But you made an interesting point there. If you lose this race and it helps 5, 10 other Democrats win, great. I lost my race to Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I helped Senator Warnock at the top of the ticket.
Right.
Accounted for 25% of his win number in the district that I ran. And when my race was over and he was going to a runoff, I flipped that entire machine over to work for Senator Warnock in the district and throughout the state. So it's important. You know, these things are important. Oh yeah.
I think Warnock and John Ossoff are they're on a different level. They're amazing.
Absolutely. They're
Mark Kelly, Ted Lieu. These are people that are just Jamie Raskin. I'm talking scary smart.
Yeah,
they absolutely are so smart. And to me, I just look forward to being able to sit in the caucus and listen to these people and hear their ideas and support, you know, the things that they're trying to fight for, because, you know, I really do want the opportunity to be there.
I love that so much. And it sounds so honest and true. Like, these are the kinds of politicians. I'm sorry. Like, it makes me very angry to think about how people, like, for example, Mark Kelly is being constantly targeted. Like, I was talking to my husband about it too, about, you know, when Trump was trying to take this pension, when Hegseth was trying to take his military pension away, he was like, you mean to tell me that you don't trust the background of the military astronaut, right? Who's currently serving in the Senate? You don't think he's been vetted? That's
You trust the drunk,
right?
the drunk,
exactly.
that you know,
adulterer,
the adulterer. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So whatever.
Over an astronaut.
Yeah. Right. You think that guy's your problem? Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. And I don't understand the impetus to defend him, right? Like, you could just switch. Like, if you voted for Donald Trump and you're like, that must have not been a good idea, I made a bad choice, come on over, guys.
Come on over. Look, that's the thing, is, you know what, we may not be able to get MAGA, but there are plenty of Republicans that are done with this. Independents are done with it. Look at the polling. They are underwater big time with independents and unaffiliated voters. And we're going to bring them to the polls. We're going to, you know, Roy Cooper's going to bring them to the polls. Justice Anita Earls is going to bring them to the polls. And I hope that I can bring people to the polls.
So what are your favorite issues to work on? It seems like to me that you obviously deeply care about veterans and VA care.
Yes, yeah. Obviously, I'm hoping that I will get on the committees that deal with the veteran stuff, because I think that's important. And once again, that's what
you have your district too. So what would be your top issues that you care about?
So there's two things that are the top of my list.
Yeah.
Now, understand that as soon as I get there, I need to sign on to Ending Citizens United. That's something that, sign on to the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. These are things that I want to do on day one. But now I also would like to make the first $45,000 that anybody in this country makes to be tax-free. Now, and if you go look at it like in this way, let's look at school service personnel. That's bus drivers. That's the cooking staff. That's the custodians. They don't make $45,000 a year.
Right.
In most states, they don't do that. So if we said the first $45,000 is tax-free, they're not going to have to pay no taxes.
Yeah.
And that is life-changing for them.
It is.
I want to do that. I also want to tie minimum wage to the cost of living, so that the prices of groceries go up, minimum wage has to go up. Because if you're working minimum wage and you're working 40 hours a week, you should still be able to keep your nose above the waterline. So those are two things that I'm absolutely trying to push that's going to help the working class. But I also think that there's something that we need to do, that this country needs to do, and everybody should be in agreement, and that is the fairness doctrine. Bring back the fairness doctrine that says that news media has to have integrity and honor. So if you are caught lying to people, you will get a severe fine and taken off the air. And that's what needs to happen, because right now, and it doesn't matter who they are, all they care about is clicks and all this stuff. And they're going to just run what they think are going to make people watch. And we've got to get back to telling people the truth in this country, because right now we've got a lot of people that absolutely, look, the people that stormed our Capitol, they stormed our Capitol because they believed, because Donald Trump told them, we've been cheated. There was no evidence that showed that they were cheated. The evidence shows that they lost. The evidence shows that they did not try to steal that election.
The evidence shows it was a free and fair election.
That's right. So that's the thing, though. But these people, they drink from that fountain, and they literally believe that that's what they have to do. And look at what happened on that day. And the truth is we shouldn't be in this situation, because the truth is President Trump should have been escorted out of the Oval Office on January 6th in handcuffs.
Amen.
That's what should have happened.
You know what? And I love that you said bring back the fairness doctrine. Fox News is just going to do what they did in those lawsuits and say, we're not really news.
We're entertainment.
Nobody should be believing the shit that we're putting out there. It's entertainment. It's supposed to make you think.
And I've spent a lot of time studying this, because as a speechwriter too, right? And I'm a jury consultant also. So because I practiced law for 8 years as a trial attorney, and I always wanted to know how the bad guys won, because I just had this fundamental belief that, like, if you are the good guys, right? Like, if you truly are the good guys, then you should win. And if you didn't win, it's because you didn't tell the story correctly. And I think that what happens sometimes is that there are legitimate tricks, like there are linguistic tricks that people use in order to convince people and bamboozle them into believing things. And that's what happened here. And that's what happens on the news.
Well, and also
there's a whole science behind it. It just reminds me of the Barry Goldwater and all that.
Well, look, they have been attacking public education since the 70s.
Yeah,
that's a fact. That is a fact.
Because of integration.
And the reason why they do that is because they knew a long time ago a poorly educated population is an easily duped population.
That's right.
And that's what we have right now, where people spew, like anything, and these people fall for it and they believe it. And I know a lot of them, there's a lot of people right now that have really had to have a come to Jesus with themselves. Because once again, you used to drive around on purpose in your Ford F-1250 with your Trump flags. And now I no longer see that. I don't see your vehicle either, because now you're having a hard time putting gas in it, because now it's costing you $200 to fill up your Ford F-1250.
Right.
So,
you're going to be on TikTok and Twitter complaining about it.
Right.
That's right. That's right. But at the end of the day, I believe that there is a severe difference between the parties. One party believes in the billionaire class, and then there's another party that wants us to do everything in our power to elevate people out of poverty with a hand up. I want to help teachers. I want to help school service personnel. I want to do something to create a VA style system. Imagine In the military, we've seen combat. We've dealt with this stuff. We've dealt with death. But you know who else deals with that? That doesn't have a VA, that doesn't have a mental health capability? Police officers, firefighters, first responders, nurses, correctional officers, and even add teachers and school service personnel, because those 7 groups of people are always fighting for decent health care. And don't they deserve to have the same kind of health care that we get? Why don't we say, okay, if you do 3 years as a police officer, firefighter, first responder, any of those people, you do 1 term as whatever that job is, you automatically have your health care covered for the rest of your life. And oh, by the way, how are you going to pay for that there, Congressman Ojeda? I'm going to tax the shit out of the rich. It's time for us to start looking at things that are problems and looking at them and saying, you're going to solve this problem. And we're going to solve this problem because you're going to fund the solving of this problem. We're going to make them do it.
Because who do you think is making you rich, sir? It's all the people who are living near you. It's all the people who are patronizing your business, who are working for you.
That's right. You want to fire a bunch of citizens and then you want to bring a bunch of robots in? Well, you're going to get taxed for that. You're going to get taxed.
I like that idea too, because here's the thing: like, shouldn't what happens in our society, like, shouldn't we have a say on that? First of all, and second of all, shouldn't it like serve us and be good for us? Like, I don't understand. Like, I saw an ad the other day for AI arbitration instead of having a lawyer do it, and I just wrote back. I was like, nobody wants this. Like, what's with all the things that we don't want? I don't understand.
Yeah,
I mean that's. When you say tax the rich, I just start thinking back about, you go all the way back to H.W. Bush when he was doing his whole thing, read my lips, no new taxes. Then he had to go back on it. Then Bill Clinton came in and we had a surplus.
Yeah.
We had a surplus. Then W came in, implemented his tax cuts, got those tax cuts in. Then we had a war and we had huge debts. Obama tried to roll some of that back. Now you got Trump, who pretty much doubled down on the W tax cuts. And, you know, in the wake of this article that says America's insolvent, which I don't know if that's true or not, but we're definitely in a shitload of debt. If we just went back to the way it was under HW, we start climbing up out of that hole.
Yep. Every single every Democrat has handed the Republican a decent economy. And in every single case, they have literally, I mean, Donald Trump has added $3 trillion to our debt so far.
In a year. It's 2.2 trillion.
He took an economy that was basically the world was like, wow, it's amazing. And in 4 months destroyed it. And now look at what we have going on here now. And once again, all of the MAGA people out there, where are you at? I mean, you guys were screaming about the gas prices under Joe Biden and the grocery prices.
Those are stickers.
Going down.
Because
nothing's going down.
Remember those?
Nothing's going down. So, I don't know. It's
So here's,
that's why I'm in this fight. That's why I'm running for Congress.
It's frustrating. I hear you, brother. I hear it in your voice.
I know, and I was actually just going to say that. So a lot of times when I talk to people, and I'm sure when y'all talk to people about why they voted for Trump, so many people say because he loves this country. That's what I heard from so many people. But guess who else does? This guy. This guy.
Let me tell you something. I don't look at my country with dollar signs in my eyes.
There we go.
I'm the guy that wants to go to Washington, D.C. and say, not that you have to wait 4 years to become a lobbyist, that you should never be allowed to be a lobbyist if you are a member of Congress, that you should never be allowed to play the stocks if you're a member of Congress. These are things that we absolutely need to do because there's corruption. And I tell people all the time, I'd like to push legislation that says that a lobbyist has to wear a body camera. Anytime you are speaking to a member of Congress, I don't care if it's in Walmart, if it's in Walmart in aisle 5, if you get caught speaking to a member of Congress and you don't have your body camera on, you lose your ability to lobby. Because let me tell you something. If you could go on your computer and you could look up every conversation that your members of Congress are having with lobbyists, bet you they would be far less likely to sell you out. And behind the scenes, they're selling you out.
Woo.
Let me tell you, I hope that there's a lot of people watching this because you can go to ojeda4nc.com and you can support my campaign.
Please do. We were going to give you a chance to get that in.
Yes, please go ahead. Tell us all the things we can do to help support your campaign.
Well, look, I am taking no corporate PAC money. I'm taking small dollar donations. My average campaign contribution is $17.
Yeah.
My opponent's is $800. You know, he's all about he takes all the money from wherever, he doesn't care. You know, I am not taking any corporate PAC money at all. My money's coming from small dollar donors from the people. And that's what I'm going to continue doing. And once again, you know, I need help raising the money that I need to raise. You know, I'm hoping that the DCCC is going to look and throw some love my way. But at the end of the day, I am absolutely doing everything in my power. I'm putting boots on the ground everywhere. I mean, nobody is going to outwork me. That will not happen. We will go nonstop. We don't take days off. We go nonstop. So, you know, we're going to continue doing that. And once again, there's the thing, Ojeda for NC.com. Check it out. If you can, leave a donation. You know, if you have friends that you know that are, you know, politically active, send them this. I do a nightly live every night at 8:30 to 9 o'clock called Ojeda Live on YouTube and Facebook. And, you know, we're getting ready to start doing some stuff where we're going to try to change it up a little bit because we have a lot of people that are also running on the down ballot that we want to do our best to try to help them to be able to flip those seats from red to blue too. Make no mistake about it. Flipping a county commission seat blue is important. Putting somebody on the Board of Education is important. These are all things. City council members, those are important, and you can't ignore those. So make sure when you go to vote, you pay attention to those down ballot candidates and you support them down ballot candidates because that's how we win at all levels.
I tell you what, I'm going to break a little bit of news here. You know, Richard and I have been friends for years, and as the chair of Hold the Line PAC, you know, when I think about people who the PAC wants to endorse or I want to endorse, you know, I think about people who have those leadership qualities, who are committed, who are selfless servants, who have a servant's heart. And I mean, I can't think of anybody better than Richard Ojeda, my friend, to be endorsed by Hold the Line PAC.
That's what I'm talking about. And I want you to know that's the difference. People like you and me, we know never walk past something that you know is wrong and fail to make comment. For if you do, you have now accepted a lower standard, and we don't accept lower standards, period.
You see what I'm talking about, ladies?
Where'd you find him? Where'd you find him? I love this guy.
He's again, this man, when I was out running for Congress, you know, one of my first and biggest supporters out there, you know, had run for office, gave me tips about
I tell you, man,
everything that I didn't know.
You deserved it. You deserved it. You deserved it. You worked hard. You deserved it. And I tell you, the people of Georgia, they messed up not putting you in there because
we did what we had to do. We gave the people a choice, and they made it.
That's right. But same thing. You know. But I'm telling you, I want to have a legacy that said this is the guy that fought the good fight. This is a guy that tried to raise people out of poverty with a hand up. This is a guy who fought for police officers, firefighters, first responders, teachers. You know, that's the legacy that I want to have. You know, and I don't want to go to Washington, D.C. and spend the next 25 years there. I'm a traveler. I'm a world traveler. I've been to 74 countries, and I love traveling. And I'm going to tell you, I don't want to spend the later part of my life sitting in an office someplace. I want to go to Washington, D.C. I want to elevate people's lives. I want to make the United States of America a better country, just like I made my home state a better state. And I want to elevate people in North Carolina's 9th Congressional District because there's a lot of wonderful people in this district that deserve to be elevated. And I want to do everything in my power to do the right things and have that legacy, because that's, to me, you know, look, at the end of the day, my mother and my father are still alive, and I always want to make my parents proud.
Yeah.
And I'm always going to want to make my parents proud.
Yeah.
There you go, Fayetteville and surrounding areas in that district. Here's the man you should be voting for.
And you can still donate.
Veterans that probably served with this man. A lot of you probably served with him that are retired or, you know, still live in Fayetteville. you've got a guy that's going to fight for you. I can tell you that.
Clear.
Right now.
Yep. I'd rather fight than eat when it comes to taking care of people, man. I'm there.
And that's where a lot of the vote's going to come from out of Fayetteville. So you guys get out and vote for Richard Ojeda.
Yeah.
We need a hell of a lot more energy like yours. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you guys for giving me this opportunity to be heard. All the people out there, once again, OjedaforNC.com. Check me out. If you like what you see, give me a donation. If you don't have the ability to donate, you have the ability to make phone calls. You may know people in North Carolina that may be in the 9th Congressional District that you can pick up a phone and call. And that's important too. So, at the end of the day, success is flipping a red seat blue and going to Washington, D.C. with people that aren't going to roll over, with people that aren't going to accept a lower standard, because I'm not going to do it. Won't do it. I want to help people. I want to elevate people's lives, and I'm going to continue doing just that.
Major Richard Ojeda, former state senator, future congressman, thank you, my friend, for joining us today. We appreciate you having you.
I appreciate you guys, and y'all have a blessed day. Airborne.
Godspeed, brother.
Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.
Bye-bye.
Man.
I love him so much. I love him. Oh my God, there are no people like him. Are there any people like him? I don't know anyone.
I mean, in the Army, that's just.
He's just.
He's a special guy. He really is.
He gives a shit.
Yeah.
He truly cares. Yeah. And that's what people thought about Trump. They thought that he loved this country and that he cares, which was bullshit. His is real. It's that's what I'm saying. I don't know people like him.
And that's, and you've worked in politics a while. When people are authentic and genuinely, truly themselves, and that's what they give to people instead of trying to fit some kind of mold that they think a politician should fit in.
Yep.
That resonates so much. It hits just a little bit differently with people, and people will respect you more for that. So, we saw it with Jasmine Crockett. You could see it with, or we see it with Jasmine Crockett. You can see it with Richard Ojeda. He's the same type of, guy that just pours his heart into it. I don't want to say wears it on his sleeves because that feels a little cliche, but
but I feel like he does in a way that he's like, no, I'm okay. If I wear my heart on my sleeve and it gets bumped into, I'm going to be just fine. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. And I think, like I said, I really do believe that Gen Z is very emotionally intelligent, and they're the voters that are up for grabs. And they're like, oh, this is an extremely resilient human being, which is a quality that I was taught is important. You know what I mean?
And he's a Gen Xer like me, so not all of us are, we learned to compartmentalize, especially as it came from the military, but we feel too.
No, I mean,
I'm all afraid to say it.
We just all wanted to be Gen X. I'm married to a Gen Xer. That's all we wanted was to be you guys. We wanted Nirvana. We wanted to have Chili Peppers. That's what we wanted. So
somewhere, yeah. So true Gen Xer here, but it's. Look, people, these seats that are within 10, 15 points, they're not out of reach.
No.
They're not out of reach. We're just in that kind of district. And we're in a cycle where we can do some flipping. As a matter of fact, we already flipped an important state house seat in Florida last night. Our friend Democrat Emily Gregory flipped the district that represents none other than Donald Trump.
How insulting must that be, right? I would be so embarrassed. It's like how Donald Trump didn't want to go to New York because he knew that New York didn't vote for him. Now your home district, bro.
And what was it he said? The Republican candidate, he backed him totally. He has my total and whatever endorsement. Come on.
Well, it looks like that didn't work out for you too well.
It didn't work out. Didn't work out here in Georgia 14, where he endorsed Clay Fuller, and Sean Harris still got more votes.
Yes.
We're in a runoff now, so we're keeping our fingers crossed.
I know. And you and I are both in Georgia. So, are you in Georgia right now?
Yep.
Yeah. What city are you in right now?
Say again.
What city are you in?
So Bremen.
Yeah, of course.
That's where I live.
My niece went to high school there.
Oh, so they have a great school system here.
Yep, my niece went to Bremen because she lived in Carrollton and they had to bus her to Bremen.
Yeah, a lot of kids from Carrollton come to Bremen.
Where did you go to? Is that where you went to high school?
No. I went to high school in Talladega.
Oh, okay.
So,
there's so many
songs. I split my time between Georgia and Alabama, just back and forth.
There's so many songs about Talladega. People in Georgia, they love PCB and they love Talladega. They really do. I didn't grow up here. I moved here from Indianapolis, but like my whole adult life, I've lived here since I was 18 and I'll be 35. Like, I'll tell you what, country people love the beach. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Everybody goes to Panama City Beach. That's what we did as a kid.
Because my husband's family is all rural Georgia, like southern, like on a farm, Georgia. Like they're like named after the families, kind of Georgia. Like growing up driving tractors, and there's nothing more fun than going to Talladega or PCB. I'm gonna tell you right now. They had the best time.
In high school, it was always good because a lot of us football players would get to drive not the pace cars, but the VIP cars. We'd get to drive them out to the track and park them for all the big wigs who would come in, and sometimes we'd get to go out on the track a little bit, but you had to be a football player, and you had to have a driver's license. So that was one of the cool little perks of
I like it
to be on the fastest speedway in the world. But yeah, we loved it. We loved it. But I split my time back and forth between here and Talladega as a kid growing up, and then I left the country for 20 years in the military. So, but yeah, getting back, I know we spent a lot of time talking with our friend Richard, so we don't have enough time to get to all the topics.
Okay.
So we can kind of wrap them up.
Thank you guys so much for watching.
Yeah, it was a great show, Maddie. Thank you for coming in and joining us. People, let us know how Maddie did in the chat.
Oh yes, please. I'd love to know.
Let us know. Give us your feedback. And if there's anybody you want us to have on as a guest, let us know that in the chat as well. I mean, we're always looking to, bring the best and the brightest onto the show. If there's somebody that you can think of that we aren't going to have lined up, we'll reach out to them and see if we can get them on.
Absolutely.
So, with that, I guess we're going to wrap up for today. Maddie, again, thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
We had a great guest. Godspeed, everybody.